You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name, and politics is our game. And we will be doing lots of politics and public policy this evening because we have one of the 9. There are 9 candidates for mayor. Is that right?
I don't keep
Unless
count.
I think so. Okay. Thought I heard somebody say 10, but I couldn't find the 10th.
Just focusing on my race.
Dorothy Brown, you've just seen to my right, not to my philosophical right necessarily, but to my physical right, is of course, the clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. Try saying that fast 3 times in a row. I sometimes say the 5 C's because it's clerk of the Circuit Court. Those are 3 C's of Cook County. 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, 5 C's. But more importantly, after being clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County for 4.5 terms, she has been reelected 4 times, right?
Yes.
Most recently in 2016. She is now running for mayor of the city of Chicago. So no fooling, this is serious business. Rahm Emanuel was elected in 2011, re-elected in 2015. The election is February 26, 2019, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so that is, I keep doing the calculation. Is it about 8 months?
About 9
months.
9 months.
Yeah, and then if nobody gets a majority, there's a runoff between the top 2. Majority, if nobody gets more than 50%. If somebody gets 50% plus 1 vote, he or she is the mayor. If not, there's a runoff between the top 2. And I can't remember, it's in April, but do you remember the date?
I think it's April 2nd or 4th, one of those.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Close enough for cable.
First Tuesday.
First Tuesday in April. So it's really quick. Kind of like when they throw out the first ball, the first game in Wrigley Field, kind of.
Yes.
Time for that. Time to have the mayor's election. Okay, enough fooling around with that stuff. We'll get on to some of the other candidates. We'll give you a broad view. Let's start with something really big, okay? Let's start with something that gets right to your gut. Because this happened, I'm thinking of something that happened years ago. And it should have been really important, but only I seem to remember. So this young girl, 10 or 11, goes to a slumber party, I think on the south side. You might remember this. She stands up during the party. She's shot. She's dead. Her crime is that she was in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time, and she went to a slumber party, and she stood up. And that should never happen. That should never happen to anybody. And the thing is, what I've just said happens all too often, right? Some person who's doing nothing wrong, and it's often a young person, innocent person, they get shot. There's 2 gangbangers or somebody. They're not even intending, in this case, I presume, to hit that person, shooting through the house, misfiring, crossfire. The point is, yeah, what's the point, Jeff? In 2016, we had this boom of explosion in the number of murders in Chicago, right? Gun deaths, right? Gun violence was up, murders are up. It's come back down somewhat in 2017, but not all the way down.
Right.
And then why did it go up? And Rahm ran in 2011 on the platform of public safety or crime and murders and all that stuff, and education and city finances. We'll get to the other 2. So the short question, now that we've gone to the drama, what would you do, Dorothy, to fix that? Because look, Rahm, come on, and we want him to come on the show, and I try to be balanced, but obviously the problem wasn't fixed when you were elected, Rahm, because how would it go up dramatically in 2016? So great if it's come down, and we'll talk about that, but the problem was not fixed, was it?
Right, and you know, criminal justice reform is one of the things that, as I've been moving around the Chicago, that everyone is concerned about. Of course, because it affects you personally, it affects your family members, and so that is one of the main things that we must work on. In my opinion, you have to really take an approach that takes into consideration a lot of different things. But for the Chicago Police Department specifically, we have to look at the leadership and governance as it relates to the Chicago Police Department. The United States Justice Department the report that they wrote really struck home, just went straight home to the different issues that are of concern. United States Justice Department, Department of Justice.
What did they
in
say about
2016.
kids who stand up and get murdered? What did they say about a young girl, 10 or 11, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe shorter time, went to a slumber party and got murdered?
Well,
and if not
Jeff,
her, somebody else. I
Jeff,
don't want to get on my high horse, Dorothy, but that report said nothing about this, did it?
It said nothing about that, but what I'm trying to say is, first of all, we have to look, they talked about training. Okay, they talked about training of
Dorothy, that's
officers,
not, you
right?
can train them till the cows come home. Please. I'm serious about this.
Okay, so
am I the only guy who's going to be indignant? I mean, seriously.
No, I don't want.
I've said this to Christian Mitchell. You know Christian.
I don't want you to be the
I've
only
had him
guy
on,
that's
and I said to
indignant.
Christian, he's a great state rep, but
we have to
everybody's
look at
talking about this, but nobody says,
so Jeff,
damn it, it's got to stop.
So Jeff, are you interviewing me, or do you
Yeah.
want to just talk
Okay,
to the
well,
camera?
okay.
Whichever one you want to do.
No, I want you to do it, but have a,
then,
but I mean,
then
okay,
please
okay,
give me an opportunity
sure.
to kind of talk to you a little
Okay,
bit.
all right, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm saying is we have to look at the police department. We have to look at the community, what's happening in our community. Why are our children turning into gangbangers? They're not born gangbangers, are they? Okay, so
No,
there are a lot of
definitely not.
A lot of things are interdependent,
Okay,
Jeff.
all right.
The educational system, which is one of my top priorities, properly educating our youth so that they don't have to turn to gangs and drugs and things of that nature.
So before,
So it's interdependent.
I don't mean to interrupt. So did you want to say
Yes.
a few more? No, I'm being serious. I seriously don't want to interrupt.
No,
So if you have some more, go
so,
ahead.
So I'm just saying, so we look at our educational system and how do we better train our youth? Okay, so because they're not born gangbangers, where does that occur? And also you look at the home life and the fact that their parents don't even have jobs. So now we need jobs for parents. We need jobs for youth. We need jobs for individuals that are so that's
is that your
also
platform?
an issue that has to be looked at. So what I'm trying to say is,
Okay.
as we look at the crime in our community, in our communities, we have to look at all of the different aspects that are causing this crime. Then we have to look at how we are policing. They talked about community policing. Are we doing enough in that area? It talked about proper training and
The DOJ report, when you
the
say it.
DOJ.
Okay.
It talked about
Which came
community
out, just
policing.
tell people a little bit about the context. Not
The
everybody
Department
knows
of
about
Justice,
the DOJ report.
the Department of Justice issued a report, in 2016, early
Okay.
2016, and it had several recommendations for the Chicago Police Department. It said that there need to be an improvement in the use of force. Okay, there needs to be improvement in supervision, the accountability of the police officers, community policing, training, even officers' wellness.
Why did they happen to do a report on Chicago's police department? Do you know?
Well, they did a
Or
report.
did they do it across the country?
No,
I don't
it was
remember.
Chicago's
This is a
Police
question, folks, I don't know
Department.
the answer to. So I'm actually asking Dorothy because I don't know.
There
Why
was-
did
there was
they
a
happen
lot-
to do it for
Because
Chicago?
of what's happening here and the crime, and of course the unfortunate police incidents that have occurred
Any
over the
specific
years.
that come to mind?
Well, the Laquan McDonald was one of the primary ones.
Right. and
Obviously.
Let's flag that. We'll
So-
come back to that in a minute.
Okay, so-
Only a minute, but go ahead.
So
I
thank
don't
you for giving me an opportunity to
So
say a few words.
That is kind of your platform, is what you're telling
Well,
me.
I'm not saying that
Well,
my
but-
platform is going to be rolled out. I'm just
So you
saying,
just
and
keep-
it's going to, and I am going to be talking about
Okay.
a holistic approach to dealing with crime and dealing with education and dealing with economic development, a holistic approach that we can't just do these things in a vacuum.
Because right now, people can go to your website. I hope I got it right. dorothyformayor.com, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so they can go there and they can look where it says platform, but they really won't find what you just told me, will they?
Exactly. Well,
Which is the reason why you have to come to public affairs. It's a
Exactly.
little
So,
public
right.
affairs.
Exactly. 'cause-
No, but seriously,
Jeff,
why isn't it there?
because what
Because
we're
you could put
doing-
it there because it would help you. I'm trying to help you here because
thank
I
you,
went
Jeff.
there and I didn't know this until now. You've told me your platform.
Yes. No, that is not my all of my platform.
But
I
a
will
large
be,
part of it,
I
yeah,
will,
okay.
it will
A
be
good part of it.
encompassed around that. But what I'm doing, Jeff, is I'm doing listening tours
I see, okay.
to incorporate the ideas of citizens into my full platform.
So yeah, if only I were a citizen, you could incorporate some of what I've said
You're
here.
not a citizen.
I am a citizen, but not in Chicago. I'm an Evanston. I'm an
But
Evanston.
you know what? But hey, you know,
Does it
I
count?
will accept.
Will you still listen
yes,
to me?
yes,
Oh,
I will
cool,
accept.
cool.
You're.
Okay.
Yes, I
good.
will.
That's good. Okay, but seriously, folks. So you've covered really in that, and that's not your total platform, but it sounds to me like you've
It's
covered
in
education
yes.
a bit. You've covered jobs or economic development a bit. You've covered public safety or crime or murder a bit. And that those were the three things Ron mentioned in 2011 as his platform. I'm not saying you have to do what he does, but that in city finances.
Well, those are concerns
Those
of
are
people.
those are
That's what
probably
people
the core. As you say, your platform will include more than what you've just told me.
Yes,
But
yes.
really, that's probably your core.
Those are the core platform
issues.
areas.
Add,
Yes.
You'll add to it as you listen to people and get okay.
Yes, sir.
So, we mentioned Laquan
As we
McDonald.
do more research and come up with recommendations.
So you mentioned Laquan McDonald.
I did mention
as one
Laquan
of the
McDonald.
causes of the DOJ, Department of Justice of the federal government, doing this report on the criminal or the police department. Tell us about Laquan McDonald. What happened there? Because people should know Dorothy is not, I shouldn't say not just an accountant, which she is, not just a CPA, which you are, not just an MBA from DePaul, which you are, not just a person who has a law degree, which she earned at night. Like Dorothy's been working all her life since she put herself, sometimes people say they put themselves through like college, okay? I think you put yourself through second grade, really. She's like working
Well, you know, my
just
parents-
about. You did
my
work
parents-
during grade school, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Oh, high school,
I
though.
worked at
High
ninth
school.
grade was my first job.
Okay, well, that's
Yes,
close to
yes.
grade school.
Yes.
Okay.
And my
Don't
parents,
argue with me when I'm
my
complimenting
parents,
you.
Thank you, Jeff. My parents were poor and uneducated, and they actually went to my elementary school at night.
This
my
is
mother
in
got up
southern
in
Louisiana?
and Menden,
What's the name?
Louisiana.
Menden? Okay.
Louisiana. My mother got up to the 6th grade. My father got up to the 9th grade. They believed in education.
So, okay, so you have that background in accounting and finance and all of that. You have the background in law. You presumably have some background, maybe just being part of this government
Well,
Cook
even
County
in
in
computers, I
Chicago.
minored in technology.
Okay. But Laquan McDonald, tell us what happened factually, because you are a lawyer, right? You could be, I could be, I'm not, I wish I could be a judge, but seriously, because if you're a lawyer and you're going before judges, part of what you do is just put your statement of facts out there, give your side of the facts. So give me your version of the facts. Are they in dispute as a lawyer? I know there hasn't been a trial yet, but here's a short question. I'll just make it short. What happened in the Laquan McDonald incident?
Well, when you look at the video, because that's obviously my frame of reference, just as most people, and also read the context of some of the police reports, you'll find that I guess he was someone that looks like he was, people said that allegedly was going into cars or something of that nature.
Going into cars? I don't remember that.
Something of that nature in that area. They thought that he might have been attempting to. And so the police were called to the scene.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is how many police officers
Yeah, a lot.
actually showed up.
Was it like
for
15 or
this
something,
one
right?
gentleman that
15, like 7 or 8 cop cars and 15
and he
policemen.
didn't have a gun, and it wasn't like
What
he
did he
had a
have?
big
What was
coat
the
on.
weapon
He had
he
a
had?
little knife.
A penknife, they
A little
call it,
penknife.
a 3-inch penknife.
And he didn't have on a lot of clothes to shield the gun
No.
either, for that matter.
Okay, so what I recall is he's walking along, he may have been scratching a few cars. I never really heard him say he was going in the
by
cars.
him doing that, I guess they might have thought that he might have going to do that. It seemed like
Okay.
I
But my
vaguely
point
remember
is, it's
to that
really not
effect.
like a major threat to anybody.
No.
If you're a car, he might scratch you. That would be it. He wasn't
So
hurting
So
anybody.
it's just really, really odd.
So okay,
as
so
to
go
why
ahead.
they,
The police.
why they showed up like that.
The police are called. I understand there's somebody doing something he shouldn't be doing, and each car comes up. But as I understand it, nobody had a taser. They thought an easy thing here. They want to get this guy, but although I don't know why you couldn't just walk up to him and sort of arrest him without a taser. But apparently somebody decided you need to tase the guy, and they couldn't find it. Now we've got tasers. So I mean, this thing. Rahm had been mayor for 3 years, 2014. He hadn't figured out how many tasers we should have. Seriously, Rahm, come and answer these questions. I mean, okay, so they were calling and nobody had a taser, and while they're waiting for somebody to show up, apparently with a taser, Jason Van Dyke rolls in, all these cops are there,
He just
and then
rolled
what
right
happens?
up.
Yeah, and then what happens?
And he got out of the car, and if you see the video, he took a stance. And
did
the
what?
guy was moving away from him, which
Yeah,
was
right, away,
really
right.
interesting. He was moving away from him,
Okay.
and he shot him.
He shot him how many times?
16.
In how 16 times in how short a time?
16 shots. I'm not sure
Like
how
6
short
seconds,
of a
I think.
time.
Hey, that is really fast. I can't even imagine.
I mean,
so
it was-
you shoot a guy who's got a penknife in his hand 16 times in 6 seconds, and the initial report says the cop hadn't done anything wrong. The people at the report, they were going to file this like this was a danger and nothing wrong had happened. Wasn't that the initial report?
What was the interesting thing about it is that all of the other police officers at the scene, had that he had not really done anything wrong. They corroborated the story
They
in
made
their
up a story,
reports.
right? They made up a story. So there was the cover up.
As if he was lunging at him or something of that nature.
So
I can't.
getting right to the nub, so this happened, I think, October 20th, 2014, thereabouts. So funny thing is, there's an election coming up. Like now, we're in April, but in October there was an election coming up in 2015. Rahm thought it might have been a tough election, right?
Yeah, he could
That
have
might
quite
have been
a
this.
few,
So the point is,
quite a few opponents at that time.
people discovered in the department and in the government there was a video. There's always videos there. It's dashboard cams, there are other cams, there are these, there are
Body
cameras,
cams.
whatever. Okay, so the police knew there was a video probably within moments, if not moments, within days.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that those
superintendent
body
knew,
cams
right?
upload to the police department. You can't
Gary
do
McCarthy's
anything.
the superintendent at the time. He must have known.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, Rahm, when do you suppose Rahm learned there was a video?
Well, according to McCarthy, not long afterwards.
Yeah, because the city council, before a lawsuit was filed, paid the family, $5 million. So they'd want to know about the video. So if Rahm doesn't have to, he has a law department, but he must have been consulted, should we pay $5 million, right? You think?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And so if
He would have
Rahm
been
knew
consulted.
would he say, is there a video, you think?
Oh, absolutely.
So, but
Sure
he
he did.
says he didn't see the video until when? Shortly after it was released, which is like, when, a year later, when the court said so? Is that what he
Right,
says?
right. Well, I'm not absolutely
What do you think?
sure
I don't want to lead
of
you.
what he said.
What is your best? You're running for mayor against Rahm Emanuel. What do you think Rahm says about when he found out that there was a video? Do you have any idea?
Well,
What Rahm
he's-
says?
I can't put it words into his mouth.
Well,
as
what did
to
you hear him
he's
say? You
saying.
must have heard him say
Well,
something about
I
it.
can't recall exactly what he said, and I don't
Okay.
want to
Okay.
put any words in his mouth. But he does not take any responsibility for. The main thing is the lack of releasing the video. They actually put that responsibility, or they had Anita Alvarez as the culprit for not releasing the video.
You mean Rahm says he wanted to release it, but Anita said, no, you can't.
And law enforcement. And if I'm not mistaken, Anita Alvarez says that because of the investigation that was going on, even the federal government was involved in holding that video from being released.
Well, we've called Gary McCarthy and he hasn't returned the call. So Gary, it's a public invitation. You want to be on public affairs, or should we just speculate about you for the next 9 months? Want us? Okay, we can do that. But it'd be nice if you'd come on. Rahm, you want to clarify things? We're trying to have everybody on.
That'd be a good idea.
We've had now Dorothy Brown on. We had Paul Vallis on. We had Willie Wilson. So the spotlight's on you, Gary. Come on. You airing throughout the city of Chicago. It's earned media. Don't tell people you need money. I'm going to tell those folks to send the money to public affairs.
It's interesting, Jeff, because now I have responsibility for the record for that Jason Van Dyke case, for the criminal record, and my staff has responsibility for it. And the Supreme Court just issued an order on last week because the particular judge that's in the case actually had a decorum order within his courtroom as to what could go in the file, what could go on the docket. I scan everything. I have over 200 million images of all the various documents that come into our office. And so the Supreme Court indicated that that decorum order was inappropriate and that he cannot have that kind of order in place telling the clerk, my court clerk, what to put in the file and what not to put in the file.
Who came up with this decorum order?
The judge in the case.
Oh, the judge was telling what to put in and what not.
Yes,
And you're
yes,
saying
yes.
who told
The Supreme Court, Illinois Supreme Court,
just
issued
came
an
down an order saying
2 days
everything
ago.
has to go.
Everything has to go, and I've instructed my staff to make sure that we have the original file. The judge had certain decorum orders in place, and you know, we are the keeper of records, and that's why I tell people you have to have the clerk of court as an elected position. You can't have the judges who are making the rules actually maintaining the records as well. There must be a check and balance, and I've always talked about that.
So we want to cover a lot of issues quickly. We've got about 7 minutes left, so I'll try to keep them short. Education. What do you do to fix it? Give me like 30 seconds.
Okay, so
What's the key thing? I'm just saying, don't, I only have 30 seconds. So key concept to fix education.
Key things, the leadership and governance, the curriculum. I want a curriculum for all of the students to be high class, not just the magnet schools, so people have to fight to get into those. Stabilizing the finances of these schools, making sure that teachers are making adequate salaries so that they can feel, you know, that and be proud of teaching our most valuable resources, our children.
Okay. The crime, we just said, the murders, you know, they have these, what do they call it? Oh, I have it here. The strategic, what is it? Hold on. Yes, SDSCs. You know about SDSCs? Strategic Decision Support Centers. So it's this idea they get real-time technology, the cops do. Something's happening in Inglewood, they know when it's happening, they see it on the computer, they can get there quicker. They know much more about the crime that's occurring, and that's going to help in prevention. And they say that was the police chief is?
Johnson.
Eddie Johnson, right? So he says this has really been helpful. The mayor's given them this technology, so now they were able to bring the crime rate, the murder rate down, gun death rate down, 2016 to 2017. Did I get this right? Yeah. In 2017 came down, but not all the way down. Are they onto something there? Would you keep Eddie there? Is he the right person? Is this the right approach? Or do you have something else? How do you really fix this problem? We've spent a lot of time talking about the high murder rate in Chicago, the high gun death rate in Chicago.
Well, I think you're going to have to obviously look at technology. Technology is important. I'm going to use technology throughout the city of Chicago, not just for the Chicago Police Department, but you have to look at the human element of the individuals that are committing the crime, and how do we get, how do we fix that side of the coin, while you know, and help those individuals, while we also make sure that the police officer properly trained, that they don't go in there with an implicit bias, so that they are improperly arresting individuals who have not been, who have not committed a crime, if you will. So you're going to have to look at it overall. You got to look at the leadership there, the governance there, and then the training of those police officers, but also look at the human aspect of the individuals that are committing the crime and the why. That's why I say it's interrelated.
Okay, and economic development. I know I've heard you and others talk. Willie Wilson's been here. He's talked about what he calls the fairness issue. You're not developing across 77 neighborhoods as you should. You have the shiny loop, the shiny city, as people say. But the loop, Illinois has the highest African American unemployment rate in the country, and a lot of that's in Chicago. And a lot of that's in the 77 neighborhoods. So what do you do to improve the economic life, the economy, the job outlook, et cetera, across the city, but especially in the south and west sides where you have large groupings of Hispanics and African Americans who have high unemployment rates? What do you do to help those people? Do you call it the fairness issue, the economic development issue? What do you call it, and what do you do?
So we're talking about 77 communities. There's over 200 and some neighborhoods. So I say that we have to have I'm going to be mayor for all of the city of Chicago. Downtown Chicago is an economic engine that must prosper along with everything else. We have to make sure that that's strong. So we make sure that that is strong, but I want to make sure that all of our communities are also strong. So we need to have an economic development plan that will be for all of the communities, and that actually have input from the citizens. We have to do something to strengthen our businesses, and then as we're talking about, make sure that we have jobs for individuals. So it has to be a holistic approach when it comes to our neighborhoods and economic development. I'm going to do something, Jeff, like community wealth building, if you will. So community wealth building will take into consideration your businesses, your jobs, your education, the infrastructure within that community. How do you build wealth in the entire community, and do that for all of the communities in Chicago?
You know, you have an MBA, right? You
Yes,
went
sir.
to DePaul.
Yes.
You took courses in economics.
I
Did you
did.
ever encounter the idea that when you have a minimum wage, it might be good for the people who get jobs, but a lot of people are going to not get jobs because the employers are going to look often for ways to do things without labor capital. So now when you go into McDonald's, we're saying you can order without dealing with a person. You can just punch it in. They're substituting capital for labor as people push them to have a so-called living wage. I know we're all trying to help people with low incomes, at least most of us are, but maybe we should figure out how to help them by helping their income without they're losing their job. Maybe if they may not earn $15 an hour, but say their market wage was $9 or $8, we could help them, all of us, by saying if you only earn $8 an hour and that's the market wage, go and do that, and then we'll supplement your income somehow, we, the other taxpayers. From what you learned in economics, does any of what I said make sense to you?
Yeah, but you know, technology is, there are a lot of self-help type of things that are going on. And what we have to do is to bridge that technology gap and make sure that individuals are getting properly educated to be able to handle those jobs that are now technology type jobs. There are a lot of technology jobs, even in manufacturing, that our people cannot get, our children cannot get, because they're not trained in that area. So they can get even more than that minimum wage, if you will, because if they learn, if we're properly training them. So.
Two quick things. We only have about a minute left. One, my good friend Carol Marine, you were on her show recently.
Yes.
And Carol asked you, and you didn't quite answer the question, and Carol didn't ask me, but I'm going to follow up for her. So she said, can you assure us you're taking off the table that you, running for mayor, if you have campaign funds and you want to use them for your legal defense for issues that are investigation coming up, would you take that off the table and sort of take the oath that you're not going to use any of your campaign funds for your legal defense? She asked you that, and you didn't quite answer.
I don't remember her asking me that specific question.
Well, I helped
think
her. I refined it. So
you did.
Okay,
What Carol Marine asked, because I guess someone had said in some newspaper article that was why I was running for mayor, and I assured her that there were a lot easier
okay,
ways
excuse me, but
to
we
raise
only have
money.
seconds left. So I refined the question. Would you assure Carol and me?
I am not running for mayor.
I know, but would
to
you
raise
assure you won't?
funds for a
Would you
legal
assure
defense
us you
fund.
will not?
I'm not. I won't need a legal defense fund. I've done nothing.
But you don't want to answer that question because.
Oh well.
Will you
what
just
do you
say?
mean?
Will you just say you will
This
not?
is not
will you
these
give us an oath?
campaign
Will you give
funds.
us the oath? Take the pledge. You will not use any campaign funds for any legal defense should you happen to get prosecuted.
The
or
reason
indicted.
why I won't answer you in that manner because I have done nothing wrong. So I don't
Okay.
want to. I'm not a negative type of thinker in
Okay.
that regard.
We got zillions of questions. I hope you'll come back. I hate to end it on that, but we just have to because we're out of time. But I just want you folks to remember, the main thing to remember is you come back next week and every week to Public Affairs, not to see Berkowitz. He's nothing, okay? He's nothing. But to see people like Dorothy Brown.
That's right, a
who are-
proven leader
who is running for mayor of the city of
That's right.
Chicago.
with a
and
proven track record.
Dorothy Brown. You got that? She is, of course, the current circuit court clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. Thank you so much, Dorothy Brown.
Thank you very much.
Okay.